Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Coach Jones Show. It's Brooks County week here in Charlton County. We've got a home game here with the Indians and the Trojans coming to town. Coach, Sammy, have at it.
All right, Coach. First of all, thank you for joining us again on the Coach Jones Show. I know it's day before game day. You got a lot going on. It seems like we just met a couple of days ago on the last show, but actually it's been almost 2 weeks ago, right before the Irwin game. And man, with all these crazy schedule changes and the bye weeks, and it really feels like we've actually just come off our third bye week for the season. How have you guys, coaching staff, kept the kids focused on what's going on and what we're trying to get to here this season?
Gosh, we've gone back to like training camp, and we've been full pads and getting after it. So, best way to get back after a tough loss is to go back to work. There's no crying over spilled milk or anything like that. We're continuing to try to grow as to where I want us to be, as a program. One thing you don't have to worry about in the region that we're in is you're going to play this time of year. You're going to play big time games, playoff type games, and so just disappointed. But it's you learn the most after you fail, and so getting back to work, understanding where the areas in which we're deficient and where people are attacking us, and where we're not doing a good job has been our focus. And so after you're not successful, you go back to work.
Well, Coach, we'll go ahead and dive into the Irwin game from 2 weeks ago. Give us a recap of the game. Start with the offense. Tell us what you saw and what we didn't execute against Irwin.
For the most part, the best way to describe the game is, we scored enough points to win the game. We don't show up at all defensively. And then, special teams wise was, I won't say a dead even heat, but it's disappointing. Just disappointing. For a lot of different reasons. You can't use the circumstances of, the weather and the way the season is kind of taking a turn here this second half with the hurricanes and whatnot, because whoever your plans had to probably have had to deal with that in some form or fashion. So for me, best way to recap the Irwin game was just disappointing from the standpoint of you look and see at the end of the game, gosh, you scored this many, you ought to be able to win a football game. And I'll tell you, after we lose, nobody's more disappointed than me, from the standpoint of not just being the head coach, but being a competitor. Anytime you go out, you want to win. And so, I'm growing. Our coaching staff is growing. Our kids are growing. Nobody wants to be in a negative light, but I'll tell you what this has motivated me to do. It's motivated me to sometimes, folks talk about ignoring the noise, but it's motivated me to understand that the most important thing outside of the result, the win and loss, is the process in which you take to get there. And so I'm so focused on making sure that our kids not just have what they need. And we're doing so many things. Sammy, you guys see we're trying to do things here to the field house. We're feeding them every day. Our team is taking care of their business in the school building academically. But doing what we need to do in football practice to make sure that we have a physical football team that shows up. That's probably the most glaring area. You would think, football, you're going to be physical. But to play the kind of game that needed to be played, we just didn't, and all of it falls back on me. And then, this is year one, but all I care about is this process in which it takes to get there, and making sure that our kids understand whether you're successful or not, there's going to be a story to tell. What you got to do is you got to be ready for opportunities when they come.
Looking at the game real quick. First quarter and a half, back and forth ball game. It wound up being, I think it was 28-14. We get a big play, and anybody who knows about football and watches football, you always hear, this play cost us a game or the official cost us a game. We get the big screenplay that goes for a touchdown. During the play, we get a holding call or blocking the back call on play, brings it back. And to me, that right there, I think, just pretty much broke all the momentum that we had, trying to stay running up down the field with Irwin. How big a call was that against us on that play?
Well, first of all, the call was correct. The only issue that I had is there was a previous play where we're running down the field and we get hit out of bounds, and the referee admitted that we did, but said he didn't feel like it was, bad enough to warrant a call. So I think just in that, the thing I'm concerned about is being consistent with, what we're calling. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. It doesn't occur, it doesn't matter how it occurs. But I respect, the officials' call. And I actually went back to them and told them, hey, the blocking the back was legitimate, but it doesn't go along with the rationale of, what I was told before. So just disappointing. But, to your point, it did feel like, deflating the balloon. I mean, it kind of just took, some of the momentum out of that. But I think, even at that point, the stage had been set for what we were not doing, defensively, and how we were playing, and just the attitude and feel and mood and all that means something to me. And it just wasn't there, and so it just kind of it was like a domino effect, kind of trickled down from there.
Well, on the defense side of the ball, and I'm just bringing up, what it is. I had Irwin over 600 yards of offense, and we just couldn't tackle. I mean, was it just them guys just beating us at the line of scrimmage, or we were just missing tackles? What we got to do to correct those mistakes, letting the guys get out in open field?
We got to line up, and we got to be physical. When I say line up, for someone who comes and prepares and charts stuff that the opposing team does, I don't know that we'll play a team like Irwin, who lines up in so many different things. And so I won't necessarily say, what all we've done to try to make sure. And then obviously, in the offseason, we'll study what we do and, what is our best practice moving forward. But I think it was a combination of our plan, what we were doing, how we did it. But again, I'm not going to blame not one kid. I don't even pull my assistant. It is 110% on me. Nobody totes that home, and all the things that have gone through my head. And so when you've got so many things that you feel like you've done wrong, you've got to start somewhere. And for me, it has been physicality and getting after each other and hearing those pads pop and taking each other to the ground and playing football and not crying about it and not, missing. I mean, we were in full pads. All last week we were in full pads. All of today was the only day we weren't in full pads. So, and then you can't say you need to do this, but oh man, you're gonna be tired. We've ice bathed, we've hydrated, we've done all the things that we normally do, but it's gotten back to this is the way it's gonna be, because the one consistent thing that I heard, when I first got here about the history of Charlton County and listening to old players and folks talk about the way it used to be, was saying, you were going to get hit on Friday night. Mm. And so sometimes you got to hit a hard reset. And so I don't, it was a combination of things that just didn't, go right, and that irked me, and that it still I don't know if it'll be until next year where I won't be as mad as I've ever been about how we played and how we performed and what we were doing and how we were doing it and the position we put ourselves in. And so, this is one that's going to fuel me as a coach well into the off season of the direction our program needs to go in, because, traditionally we hadn't done well against Irwin. And, I want that to stop. I want us to play better in these big games. I want our name to be relevant and mean something year in and year out again.
But, we'll swing up to the offensive side, and when I say this and bring this up about no quit, I've seen a lot of good things. We scored 34 points, and some of those are on special teams. 34 points on the scoreboard for the offense. One of the biggest improvements I think I've seen has been the offensive line. Them guys have to get in it, and going back to the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball, our players, I don't care if we were down, when we got down 50-something points, our kids never quit during the game at all.
Yeah, biggest thing that I'll say improvement-wise about our offensive line is the rotation of guys going in. We've got 2 guys graduating, but the 2 or 3 guys that'll possibly take their spot are all playing. And so essentially what that means is the entire offensive line is returning. And a lot of those guys, we've got a couple of them that will graduate, but the bulk of the guys that are taking snaps and that have taken their lumps throughout the season will be back for 2, some 3 years. Right. And so that's, for me, having been an opposing coach, against Charlton, I know that has been a glaring area for a few years, and it's great to see, not just here, but it's great to see that we've got some stability there, and we're going to continue to grow and get better, and that we're going to have some of the same faces and names to where it's not just going to be wholesale changes each and every year. We've got guys that can plug in and kind of be the bell cows there. But the offensive line, we're going to go as they go. So I'm very, very happy and proud of their improvement. Coach Corder, Coach Phillips, Coach Mays have done an excellent job helping continue to develop those kids. And that's something, as a football program, that although we're getting ready for games week in and week out, we've got to continue to develop our kids. And that group has developed as well as anybody on our football team week in and week out.
After the game was over with, everybody in this area knows, the devastation that our area here in South Georgia and Middle Georgia's had over the last month with all the hurricanes coming through. After the game, I saw you meeting there, talking to Coach Soliday after the game. What was that conversation about? It looked like there was maybe been more there than just football talk.
Yeah, I mean, we're all affected in some form or fashion, and there were a couple of things that were related to the football being snapped on the game that occurred, and so I addressed that with him. I got the utmost respect for Coach Soliday. He's done a great job. He followed a man that I got the chance to meet and know, Coach Buddy Nobles, who's one of the most Christian men that you'll ever meet. Was excellent for high school football, who their stadium is named after now. Got the chance to coach Coach Noble's son, who is actually the head coach at University of West Florida now, Caleb Nobles. And so know his family really well. I just have the utmost respect for them and the job, that they have done year in and year out. It's one thing to take over for somebody, who's done well. It's one thing to continue to keep that going, but I think Coach Soliday has continued to keep them going in the right direction year in and year out, which is, a feat in itself. So, nothing but the utmost respect for him, and just, general catching up at the end of the game. But it ain't much to say, for me, where do we go from here? And I think like that whether we win or lose, and I have enjoyed the games that we've won because I understand the group that we inherited, the group that became mine, that became ours, and the direction we needed to go in just from a spirit perspective. You end the season like, last year and going into this year, there's a lot that's got to happen more so mentally than it does physically. It starts in the weight room, but it's a mentality that we're going to do better, we're going to accomplish more. And, I look at programs like Irwin, like one of the ones we're playing this week, some that we've played, this year, that used to be Charlton County, and by hook or crook, Sammy, we're going to get back there. There's so many great things happening. I can't lose sight of that, but I do know that the development process is ongoing.
Well, Coach, going 2 games into the region schedule, Indians come out at 1-1. Win against Lanier and the loss against Irwin 2 weeks ago. It doesn't get any easier this Friday night against Brooks County. Brooks County comes in. When I saw on their numbers, they're averaging about over 400 yards of total offense. They got a quarterback that can really throw it and run the ball, and they got a great running back. What do you expect to see out of Brooks Friday night?
Typical Brooks County football team. Got the chance to meet and know Coach Freeman for a while. Left and went to Alabama and turned things over to their offensive coordinator, Coach Josh McFarther, who did a wonderful job as an offensive coordinator. Has continued to keep them going in the right direction. I know their principal extremely well. Know that, one of their other administrators, several teachers over there that were with me in the Valdosta City school system. It's a school system that supports their kids, and I will say this about Brooks County. One thing you better know is that Brooks County is going to be physical, and they're going to be, a team full of athletes. And so, again, when you know this region, there's no off Friday. That you better show up ready to play. You better at least be prepared. And so what situation can you script from this? You look at, there's some other teams in the region this past week that, folks probably looked at the region schedule and said, this is how it's going to end up, and here's where everybody's going to be. And there was a notable win, this past Friday, between Clinch and Irwin. And so for me, with us, how do we move forward? We've got to get our kids outside of when we lose a game, not just so much to show up and be ready to play. There's a reason why one of the relevant questions is, how are the guys this week? It isn't necessarily the loss that bothers the kids this day and age. It's what people are saying, what people are doing, how are folks treating them. That stuff matters to the kids. May not matter to us so much as adults, but it only matters to me when it affects our kids in a negative way. So there are some challenges and some things, but I will tell you, I saw or somebody sent something to me, shared something with me. Don't know that I've got to meet him. I've heard so much about him, but Coach Bill Pitt, longtime coach here, wrote something about, how things were the way they were back in the old Charlton County days. And it started in the weight room, and it was supportive school administration, and it was a supportive community. And you know what? We've got a lot of the makings of that, right? And I wholeheartedly agree. So if Coach Pitt's out there watching, he might not have been talking to me, but I took it as though he was talking to me, right? And so that's just something we're going to continue to do with our kids. Greater and better days are ahead. It takes time to kind of get some things going. But, the one thing that you said about us in the Irwin game that I am proud of when I cut the film on is that guys continue to fight. Guys continue to try to, even if the game might have been well in hand, they continue to try to fight. Let's go score. Let's go try to do something. Let's go try to get something going. And so that is the most encouraging thing, from within the program, that I'm excited about.
Well, one thing that, I've noticed I haven't really noticed it on the previous games, but I noticed against Irwin Cannon the other night. And this might not make no sense. It may be something totally off the track. But what impressed me about the players after the game was over with, you guys had your team meet in the middle of the field. Every single player on our team had their helmets on. You didn't see nobody with their head down. You didn't see nobody pouting. Horse playing, every one of them were still focused, even after a big beat down that we got from Irwin County. Every player on the team was still focused. Their team they still had their helmets on, paying attention to what you coaches were saying to them.
Well, that in itself means something to me. But I'm gonna tell you, if you've never gone through struggle or adversity, I envy all of these coaches who have gotten to programs and who have either A, stayed long enough, or B, have been given time enough to turn things around, because when they do finally get turned around and that light is shined on those kids, that is a special feeling for me. Like, I see all the little battles we're probably winning each and every day in the school building and out here on the practice field, and then the games that we've won. I probably get to see that with a little closer lens than probably the average person who only shows up, on game days. But I so very, very much, and I'll tell you, I confessed to my wife a couple days ago that, I pray for a lot of things. And I'm proud to be in a community that doesn't mind prayer. And I'm proud to be in a community where kids are saying, hey, Coach, on Wednesdays, I got to get to Bible study. I've got to, church is important. And so I'm proud of that. But I had never prayed. This has just been me. Never prayed, hey, please let us win the state championship. Please allow us, because to me, it was more important to pray that young men and young ladies have the opportunity to just be successful and to understand what it takes in order to be successful. And there's a certain way you need to carry yourself. And when you're working with kids, it isn't always, the most fun thing to do. But we've got a great group of kids walking our school building. And so those were my prayers. And so I told her, I said, well, I showed up, and within, a few months, we were state champions in girls track and won the region in boys and girls track. So I said, I better send this prayer up, not selfishly, but I do aspire for our program to be back in the, highest regard in our classification, and back to where when you show up and the band shows up and the cheer show up, we show up with a sense of pride that, we're a part of something that we know is great. And so I can feel it. Somewhat, Sammy, but the most important people to convince that to are the young men whose lockers are in there. And so that takes a complete and total effort. And again, I'll say, Coach Pitt's words resonate. I'm happy that the person that shared it with me did, because I could have probably gone digging for it and wouldn't have found it. And I'll tell you, somebody who always texts is Coach Mack. Coach Mack, texts me, every Friday, good luck, and always have a little something to say, afterwards. Not much, and it's always, it's always something positive. And I will tell you, every part of who he was to this program, anybody that I've ever talked to about Coach Matt, it was always how he did and how he treated and handled the kids. And so, for me, I can't be who he is. I can't be, who any of the previous coaches were. I just know for me what's most important to me in getting us back to where we need to be. And you find out a lot. And so I will say this, I'm thankful for the lessons that we've learned, because nobody's going to be prouder when we get back to the top, speaking it into existence, more than me, because I know the journey we've taken to get there.
Right. Well, obviously looking on the defensive side of the ball, we got to play better. The kids have got to tackle. We got to quit getting rid of big plays. What are we going to do against a real fast and speedy and strong defense from Brooks County? What we got to do on the offense side to be successful Friday night?
Well, I mean, you kind of just gave the format. I'll be honest with you on offense. You better be willing to match Brooks with what they're going. Brooks is physical. I mean, you gotta play physical. I mean, you watch, us against Irwin, and then you watch Irwin last week against Clinch, and then, you see the week before you see Turner and you see Irwin. The week before us, we saw Irwin and Turner kind of go back and forth at it, and the thing was is they never got stopped, and so as much as you score with them, you eventually got to stop somebody. Right. Mm-hmm. And so for us, I think it's a complete effort to single out and say what does the offense have to do with the defense, special team. Obviously, you got to do your job on defense and get stops. And then offensively, there's a way you can lose the game. If you're going out trying to score, that's great. That is awesome. Knowing that you don't score on every possession, don't do anything to harm yourself either. And then in the special teams, you've got to give unbelievable effort in everything that you're doing, because that is a important part of the game that too many times goes lacking because, it's just a punt, or it's just a kickoff, or it only takes one person to not be doing their job in football. And that's on any side of the ball. And so you better be willing to play the type of game that they are. Now, utmost respect to any program that shows up and this is the way we play, right? I think what has to be done is you better show up and you better be physical, and not being in their locker room, not being in Irwin's or Clinch's or Lanier's or Turner. Charlton County better be concerned with who we are when we step out of here, and that, to me, that's the most important thing.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, how you keep the kids focused as far as the fans here are extremely enthusiastic, and social media can just go nuts around here, especially with football. How do you keep the kids focused on the game and not get distracted by everything that's said, positive or negative, on social media? How do you regulate that?
Yeah, I mean, we're living in a different day and age. Every kid has a cell phone. Every kid's got access to something.
That's what I'm saying. They all see it. So
yeah.
I was wondering how you address that.
If I addressed it head on, then it would be calling it what it is. I don't think it's enthusiastic to be negative. It's one thing to show up and to help support. I think before you go to for me, before I go and discipline a kid, I better know what that kid's going through. I better know who that kid is. I know we care about the under the lights, and look, to know my story as a player and a competitor, I'm the ultimate team guy. I'm the ultimate want to win, want to do it the right way. So I don't think that that's enthusiasm. I think it's stupidity. I think it's negative. I think it's degrading to what something that's probably meant something to you. It isn't that. So for our kids, it has been somewhat difficult to understand, to explain to a kid why somebody feels like this about me one way, and then another way it's like this, or hey, it doesn't matter what I do, this is what it's always going to be. And that's something that I probably didn't see coming. What you call enthusiasm and passion, I don't understand. But I know that the best job that I can do is to continue to empower those kids, continue to hold them accountable, continue to try to surround them with people and folks that are going to better them as people, and continue to understand that when it's time to play, who they've been the entire week is who they're going to be on Friday. Very regularly can you turn that light switch on and off in today's day and age, simply because there are things that kids have access to now that we didn't. And talking 20 years ago, I played, close to 20 years ago, I played high school. I graduated, and over 25 years ago, close to, playing high school football and rec football. Rec football, middle school football, high school football, college football, it's different than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I might not have known somebody didn't feel a certain way about me ever. Now, as soon as you get done, the first thing people go to do is this. And so it's one of those things that it's draining, man. Nobody signs up to get their butt kicked, and so it's kind of like, the night that Brantley beat Jeff Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I text Coach Shores, that night, because I knew, I've been in that position before. I knew what he had been going through. One of the things in this coaching profession that kind of keeps us going is having other guys in the profession that you got your, kind of your close circle, and that kind of keep you going. And I've got them in the state of Florida and in the state of Georgia. The same team that I coached the last 2 years in Tallahassee just won their district championship last week, and they're going to be the number 2 seed in their region in the playoffs. And so shout out and kudos to those kids. Some of those kids who are seniors and juniors and sophomores were freshmen and sophomores and juniors for me, and they have gone on and continue to excel and continue to progress. So shout out to Coach Holston and those guys. I know guys all over the state of Georgia, from Carrollton on into Gwinnett County, all the way on down here in South Georgia. It is a battle week in and week out. So I think the expectations need to be high because of the resources and because of the fan bases and the people that show up. I think from that aspect, where this becomes absolutely nasty and ugly at times is because of, the opinions of folks. And I want to make sure our kids are nourished. I want to make sure they're hydrated. I want to make sure that they're literate. They're going to do their schoolwork.
Absolutely.
But I want to make sure that they understand that this program has been built on a standard, and we're working our way there. So, what do you say to them? You got to ignore it, and you got to press on, and I don't care how much you tell them that. Just as sure as they can get on here, they're going to see it. So you would hope it would be motivation, but it's kind of backwards to be able to explain to a kid, why does somebody feel like this? I don't know. It is what it is. And so it's helping me. My daughter's just 2 years old. I don't know how much me and my wife are going to allow her, to be on social media, but it's definitely something in sports now. I know you look at social media on Saturdays, college football is going on, or on Sundays. Mm-hmm. Good gracious, if those guys weren't being paid so much, they would probably care, just as much as some of us high school coaches that are teachers and things care. But it's one of those things that, when guys like, Nick Saban get up and speak about, why he got out of coaching, or, I know this past week the national champion coach, Tony Bennett at University of at Virginia, have gotten out of it, and they talk about why it's changed. And I thought that was just a college thing. Then I started thinking about high school football, and, you're looking around at different coaches in different places. It has motivated me to make sure that all the right things that we're supposed to be doing by the kids, that we're going to continue to do. And when it's our time to shine and get back in the limelight, we're going to be there. I have no doubt about it. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be doing it. We've got great administration. We have folks that have just laid it all out to feed our kids and help. What better set of resources can you ask for?
I appreciate that insight. I do, because on my end of it, on my end of CSN, that's, social media is a big thing. Mm-hmm. And you see some games it'll be like, we're, on top of the mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Other games, man, you'd think, my Lord, what's going on here? As far as social media.
Yep.
So I've always been curious. I even used to ask that about Coach Mack. Back when Coach Mack was here, how he handled it, how Coach Murray handled it. So it's interesting to hear the perspectives of the different coaches.
Yeah, well, I would be remiss if I didn't shout our kids out. I think you might have shared it, but we're through the first 9 weeks of school, and we set a team GPA goal of a 3.0. We finished the year at 2.9, so I thought that was a more than reachable goal. And then our kids just, I mean, they absolutely did their thing and showed out. You know, a 3.46 with as many guys as we have on the football team that just cared about academics. I think we had 13 that had all A's. 88% of our team was on the honor roll, and so that did my heart some good, because I know the battle we're fighting there with study hall and making sure guys are turning work in on time and doing what they're supposed to in the school building. But none of that would happen without their hard work and the commitment to our faculty and staff to providing, you know, a quality education to the kids in our community. So I'm appreciative of everybody for the role that they help play in that. But we're going to honor them next week, you know, with a big, you know, little cookout after one of our practices. And I'm so thankful to them and Mr. Hewling in the quarterback club, and, you know, Miss Nancy Zetmeyer and Katie Ruth Hewling for what they do with, you know, fueling the tribe and all the families that come together to make that happen. No night do our kids or coaches worry about eating, and on Fridays, all the folks that help set up with home games. Yeah, and so I'm thankful. I'm very, very thankful. To your question, there's a lot of things to be upset or negative about when you lose. But I think for me, what fuels me and motivates me is the process it takes to get there. You got all of these days just for these small amount of, you know, these 10 guaranteed and as many as you can play in the playoffs. So you better make each day count.
Very cool. I wanted to ask you one more thing. If we change gears just a second. Mm-hmm. Last week, you guys were in here watching the Maidens in the playoffs. We were up at LOA last week, and quite a series. What did you think about the series? And I appreciate you guys watching, having the tribe in here supporting the Maidens.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the things that I'm going to do my best at while we're in school year, not just during football season, but outside of football season, is supporting our Indians and our Maidens during their sports. I think it means the world to those kids to know that other sports respect what they do, especially our female sports. And so I was proud of our girls. I know Coach Kemp's probably really happy and excited that she's only losing one senior, and she's returning the bulk of her team. And so what I saw them, you know, the bit of it that I got to sit down and watch and enjoy, I saw them playing hard. I saw them battling. You know, I think they got caught in a couple situations that, you know, I don't know, this is such a sports cliche term, but maybe the moment got big for them at the time. But I was so proud of how they fought, man. And that's what I want all of our sports groups, you know, to pattern. I've got such great respect for Coach Marchman and the job that he does with the baseball team, and I'm looking forward to supporting them. But it was just really cool to come in here from practice. You know, most of our guys were asking what inning it was in, and we had already missed the first game. And to hear that they won the first game, I think we just sat looking for them to close it out, and they kind of went back and forth. And then one of the innings they kind of let get away from them, and then, you know, we were hoping that they would have come out with it in Game 3. But super proud of them and their effort and what all they did this season.
15 straight years in the playoffs. That's not a bad run.
It is.
That's not a bad run. Sammy, got anything else?
No, I was just going to bring up about the softball team again. You know, just I'll say it. Congratulations to them on a good season. Finished fourth in their region and made it to the playoffs. Unfortunately, the first round fell a little short, but congratulations to them on a good season.
All right. Coach Jones, you good?
Awesome.
All right. When he's packed the Swamp at Champ Bailey Friday night, kickoff 7:30. Any special ceremonies or anything going on pregame?
No, that'll be next week.
That'll be next week. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for watching the Coach Jones Show. We'll see you live tomorrow night. Y'all be sure and pack the Swamp tomorrow. Kickoff at 7. The Go Fan, right?
Yes.
The Go Fan for tickets.
Yep. Go Tribe.
Sir?
Go Tribe.
Yeah, Go Tribe, most definitely. See y'all.